Happy Wine Wednesday, everyone. Hope you're having a fabulous week. Mine has been busy and hectic as always. Holiday season is finally over. I don't mean to sound like Grinch here, but man, when you got kids and 5 million family members, it's hectic, right? I'm sure you feel me. Tonight is just open chat because I didn't want to schedule any like super huge guests or anything right so close to the holidays when and I didn't have time to advertise. Anyhow, did get a response from Dr. Tim, so we're trying to get him scheduled. Dan has been busy too with the holidays, but I'm still trying to get that Ask Seahorse Source Part 4 scheduled. Sorry, guys. I will get it done, though. And we have some other exciting guests upcoming. However, tonight is just open chat, so any questions you have, anything you want to chat about, anything from seahorses to water quality to setups to even, saltwater, just in general. We are here for you, and we are here to chat. I've got my Chardonnay on hand. The glass is half full, not half empty, right? And I've got more next to me. If you are on Instagram, don't worry. You can feel free to listen over there on story. If you want to actually interact with us, ask questions, talk with us, jump on over to YouTube, search for Seahorse Whisperer. When you find us there, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified when we go live every week. We just hit 3,500 subscribers. Woo! I should have had some sort of falling balloons or something. I wasn't prepared. But we are going to do a giveaway likely next week. Watch for the post. I know we're at least going to give away some Aquachar, likely something else. So stay tuned for that. And I need to follow up and make sure that the people got their gift cards from 2 weeks ago from the holiday session. But if you did not, please contact me. Anyways, hello to everyone in the chat. And hey, Tanya, how are you tonight? Like I said, guys, open chat. So anything you want to chat about, I don't care if it's the weather, it's open chat. And I've got Holly with me, I've got Cheryl with me, and I've got Ray with me. Vincent actually called me about an hour ago and let me know that he's really sick. So he can't join us tonight, but he's with us in spirit, and hopefully in the comments, if he's still awake. He had to take a bunch of Benadryl. But we love you, Vincent. We love when you can join us. He's going to try for next week on sending me seahorses, so yay me. And I think the only other thing I need to say before I let everybody else talk is that, Heather, I think I finally got your Robert King Chamber situation straightened out. So I'll contact you on the side, but it should be this week that you finally get it. I know you've been waiting forever. I apologize. That was on my end. There was just confusion on who was taking care of it, but we'll get it. Hi, Melinda. Hi, Shyla. Shyla, yeah, I already said hi to Tanya. See, I hate when people mispronounce my daughter's name. I spelled it Tania, and everybody calls her Tanya. And I'm like, no, it's still Tanya, right? Okay. All right, I'm done rambling. Cheryl, Ray, anything you want to update us with? Because I know Holly's got a cute little video to show us. Anything
well, it's not an update, but
yeah.
I know that in this, excuse me, in the saltwater hobby, and it may include some seahorse keepers, they send away water samples to get extensive testing done.
Yep.
What I'd like to know is if anyone has had extensive testing done like that from seahorse water, and if that testing includes the N compounds.
Right, because we're still trying to figure that out.
Like, that we were doing the testing for. Mainly, I'm looking to find out without having to spend a bunch of money. Well, for me here in Canada, I got no place to send it to anyway.
Right.
But for someone to send it out just for that reason, it's too expensive. But I'd like to find out if the N compounds are at a level that are worth developing the test for.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. And I don't see any of our saltwater friends in the chat yet. So if I see them join, I will have you ask. I know you want to know if anybody with a seahorse tank has done it, but they could answer what gets tested. You know what I mean? Even because I haven't sent away for that kind of testing. I don't know anybody who has. If you're in the comments or you watch this later and you have, please contact me so I can get you with Ray. And just go ahead.
If the testing is done on a regular marine tank, I suspect the levels will be lower than what they are for a Seahorse tank.
I don't know though, Ray. In some of these reef tanks, they got coral and they're feeding and they're doing the phyto and the live foods and the crazy feedings like all the time. So, I mean, I know we always say seahorses are dirtier, but when
there's
you
a lot
got
of corals that can't survive in a Seahorse tank because of the dirty water.
that's true. That you're not wrong. So it'll be good to ask those questions either way. So if you have had your seahorse tank tested, like with Triton or any of the send away testing, let us know. And if you eat, but still let us know what's tested if you're a saltwater person and just got the test done. Just to let us know what can be tested. And I could probably look that up too, right? Probably could. I'll try here in a little bit once we get going. Tanya, I also put a link in the chat for that's Robert King's website, and you can contact him through that, or you can contact him on Facebook. It's just Robert King's Clownfish, and he's the one that makes the chambers. And so far, we're all loving them. Cheryl, do you have any update on that or anything else?
Nothing's really changed other than the water staying crystal clear.
Right.
And it was just, it's remarkable. It definitely clears out a lot of debris.
Yep. And I recently finally took out some of the char in it and replaced it. Like Holly and I were talking about, we never even replaced it or anything. So I finally did. And I noticed that I got another. Stupid AirPods. I had a movie playing in the background. All right, we're better. Anyhow, I replaced some of the aqua char in it and noticed another boost to my tank. So nobody's saying this is a miracle thing. Everybody's still testing it out, and I can't wait until Heather can too. But I mean, so far we're really liking it. It's making a difference in our tanks that we've seen so far.
Yeah, when I look at new equipment, I look at it as to what can it add to the system. I'm not expecting one new item to pop up and do everything.
Right. No miracles here, right? Nowhere in the hobby.
I'd like to see somebody set up and do a comparison on carbon as opposed to the char, just to see if there is a difference.
I still have the smaller one, but like you'd have to have I need the extra seahorses, right? Like I don't have anything to put in the other tank. I don't 65 because basically what I was sent was one rated, I think 20 gallon and one rated for 30 or 40. So I've got the 30 or 40 in the 40 gallon all in one, and that's doing amazing. But I don't want to stick one that's rated for 10 to 20 gallons on a 65 gallon tank. Be a good comparison either. Anyways, like you said, Ray, to do the comparison, you have to have setups. So as soon as I get these Vincent seahorses and somebody gives me some babies, I promise you I will have two setups, one aquachar, one carbon. And anybody out there,
they developed the aquachar a little bit too soon or a little bit too late. If they'd have done it a few years ago, when like I had 4 40-gallon tanks all set up the same way, would have been ideal for testing that.
Right. Well, I will as soon as I do it. And anybody in the audience, if you want to do that comparison, I'm sure I could get you aquachar, possibly a char chamber, or if you get your own and do that test for us, we would love to have you on and have you share about, what you found. We also need to get Gina's Reef in here. I keep trying to get her scheduled and we keep bypassing because she works, but we're going to still get her in here to talk one night too. I didn't want to forget her. But I did put the link in. I will do that comparison, Ray, as soon as I can, or hopefully someone else will do it too, because the more data, the better, right? That's what we want to know about the testing the water and compounds too. So test, and let us know what you find. All right. Anything else new with you, Miss Cheryl, or are you just good?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. And Holly, so before I show this video, what are we doing?
Oh, I have something else too to
Okay,
share.
yes, share that first. Go
So
ahead.
I got my full from Dr. Tim's, and
Okay.
it's pretty cool. All the stuff that's in here. There's actually a lot of stuff that he sent. So this is the food packet. So what this is, it's a frozen food sample. And I
Okay.
shared with you, I think last week, the link to it to where to go. You have to send an email. So basically what it is, it's got this little tray where you make
Yep.
your own frozen food. You take half a cup of boiling water, and that's got a packet of the food. This isn't good for seahorses, though, because it is an omnivore diet. It's got different vegetables and proteins in it. So I'm going to give it to my goby, and the crabs and shrimp will probably like it. And so you mix that up, and then there's additives you can put in too. And he did a little flyer with all these little shaker additives so you can customize it if you want, extra vitamins and different things your fish might need or you want to give them. And so you mix that up and pour it in there and freeze it for a few hours. And when it's frozen, you empty it out, into a Ziploc bag or whatever, keep it in the freezer, and it's all these little cubes.
So do you just add water?
Yeah,
Is
it's
that the
boiling
deal?
water, half a cup of boiling water. And then besides that, sent these cool charts of all their products and
Mm,
what they do and how to use them. There was
nice.
there was two of these in there, and they're nice, shiny, so they're kind of water protected.
Smart.
And then all this filter media
Yep.
that they do. And I was reading in here about one that I'm considering trying called Purifier.
Mm.
It removes dissolved and particulate organics using ion exchange. It
See,
says.
and Ray, that's why I think when we get Dr. Tim in here, it's going to be an interesting conversation because he'll know all about the water quality stuff. But go on, Holly. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm interested in that because now I have all this information that he sent about all their products and foods and things. And so yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually met, let me put my camera back on here. I actually met Dr. Tim at MACNA. I don't know how to make us all big again. Hang on. There we go. I actually met Dr. Tim at MACNA a few years back. I've got a picture that's great of him, terrible of me, but that's okay. At MACNA, I'm usually running because it's so early and I'm a late night person. I'm
Mhm.
at the bar with Jessica Stam having Bloody Marys at 2 a.m. and then they start at 9. And I'm like, anyways, I met him and he actually, when I told him I was doing seahorses and that was my specialty, he hooked me up with the additives. And because I got one of those trays too, when I met him, it was brand new at the time because it was years ago. And he actually gave me the additives that he recommended for seahorses. One was garlic. One was oh god, I
Yeah,
just
that's one of the things in the little guide. There's a thing of garlic. There's a whole bunch of different ones, and they look like spice bottles. They've got a grinder in the top,
yep.
like your salt.
Yep. I just went to go to try to find it, but it's in my mix somewhere. So I couldn't find it to show you guys. But if I do, I'll show it next week. And when we get Dr. Tim in here, it'll be nice to have your handy dandy guide, while we're asking him questions. That'd
Yeah,
be great.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. So
I've
that was
always
pretty
been
cool.
I've always been a lover of the Dr. Tim products. I've used One and Only on almost every tank. I know that Cheryl's loves Fritz, and I love Fritz too. I just have known Tim longer, Dr. Tim longer, and used
Mhm.
his products longer. I've never had it not work. If anybody out there, like I'm just talking One and Only, but I have used Refresh. I have used what's the other, Eco Balance? Is that what it's called? I can't
Mhm.
remember off the top of my head, but I've used many of his products and they always do what they say. And there's even like Holly's showing her charts on their website. They even have a chart that shows, the days you should use it, how you should use it, what you
Mhm.
shouldn't use together. Because like one of them is, it's not just peroxide. He has proprietary things in it, but one is a peroxide based item or product, and then the another one is but for they don't mix, so you got to be careful. You got to read the instructions. But he's really good, and the link was not from Tank Talk with Tyann. It was just to his zombie clownfish
It
page.
it's yeah, it was on Tank Talk with Tyann
Oh yeah, for sure.
directions, and then I took a picture of it and sent it to you
I'm
because
sorry.
it's an email address. So what you do is you send an email and request the free sample and give an address to send it to and all that. And it came fast. Within a week I had it.
That's awesome. And I apologize, Melinda. I'm looking in the chat and think about the zombie clownfish link. I didn't misstepped and didn't realize you were talking about the link that Holly shared. Yes,
Yeah, it
that was
was
from Tank Talk with
originally.
Tyann.
I saw it on Tank Talk with Tyann. Yeah, and
Yep.
you email.
And I heard, Holly, didn't you go on Robert King's live the other night, like a week ago
I
or 2 weeks ago?
did a week or two ago. Yeah, yeah. I can't
And how was
remember the
that?
day. It was around Christmas time, right after Christmas, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was cool because he comes on sometimes. He comes on at random times, and so he came on when it happened to be right before time to feed the seahorses. And on that, I can join it from my phone, which makes it
Right.
easy because then I could show. So I got to show the seahorses having their dinner, which was nice. Everybody enjoyed that.
Yep. And I often wonder if like I set up this stream so that everybody would be placed right and all this other stuff. But you're right, you can't get up and go show your tank, and that kind of does suck. I tried
Mhm.
one night, remember, you guys, and it was like dark, you couldn't see anything, and it was
Yeah, yeah.
the camera focused on me instead of the tank. Maybe we should try
It depends. Yeah, I could. The only thing is that the room that I have my display tank is also the same room that my husband is, the living room watching TV or whatever.
right,
So
right.
so it's kind of conflicting. So
Well,
sometimes if he's not home or he's doing something else or whatever, then I can do that. And then in
sure.
this room, it's hard because the room's narrow and the tank is across from me. And if I'm showing the tank, I really have nowhere to sit.
Yep, the
Like I
time
can
that I
do
did
it
it, I had to.
on my phone, but it's because the way the camera is on a computer, you have to have it facing
Right.
that way. So yeah, it's kind of tough. But I
You can't.
did send you a video. You can share
Yeah,
that.
I'm getting ready to. And I would, yeah, anybody, you guys, if you're just really thrilled with your tank and it's going well, or if you're having a problem with your tank, send me a video, or send any of us a video and give permission to share it. And we can share it live on here and discuss it or talk about how great it is or try to resolve the problem. We've done that before where someone had a sick seahorse and we tried to figure it out on the show. And I can even ask Dan to come if there's a problem. Not that Cheryl and Ray and I and Holly couldn't figure it out, but sometimes having his little two cents helps. So don't forget, you can always do that, and I'll share it just like I'm about to share Holly's video. Holly, what is the video we're about to share?
Oh, it's just the seahorses being cute. So these are the ones that live in the grow out tank. They're not juveniles. They're a couple years old now, but I got them something cute for Christmas.
Okay.
So I thought I'd share.
And we showed all your Christmas decorations last week, but this was a Christmas present that you got from
Yeah,
a friend, a gift card,
yeah,
and you went and bought these. Okay. All right. Let's
yeah.
share. And play. So what do we see?
So there they are in their cute little saloon. Yeah, so Petco had these little saloon doors, And so I put them in the grow out tank, and a couple decided to check it out right away, but they couldn't fit through both at the same time. They're kind
I
of fun
love it though.
to watch. But yeah, they look cute in there. And then the funny thing about it was they were so excited about it when they first got it. I think there was something about going through it. They thought
Yep.
they were going to be somewhere else. You like on the other side, it was different. So
It's like,
you
wait a
kind
minute.
of,
This
so
is
you
look,
kind of
he's
see
he
them. They're disappointed. They're like, "Wait, we're still in this tank."
yep,
They're
and
looking
look,
all around, like there should be somewhere different.
no, this part's my favorite at the end where what's the one on the right, Holly?
The
Which
one
seahorse?
backs up.
Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah,
wait a minute, this is the
it's like yes,
same thing.
yeah, yeah.
Do the doors swing or are they just
No,
slightly open?
they're fixed. They stay in
Okay.
that spot. Yeah. But
So they
so
can't
yeah,
get
it looks
stuck.
like they're coming out of the saloon. But yeah, the way they were both gung ho to go through it. And
That's
finally they
hilarious.
both got through it, but then they're looking around like, hey, we're still in the same tank.
That's hilarious.
You're
I'm curious.
contributing to the delinquency of a minor seahorse.
Look at him. He's like, or she's like, that's a he, right?
They're
I can't
both
really.
she's. These are
Okay.
both ladies.
She's like, wait a minute. Okay, last time. I just think it's
Yeah.
cute. Last time we'll play it. But they're like, wait, hang on. The first one's like excited, like, yeah,
Yeah,
look,
yeah. No, they both
wait.
I did a couple videos of them, and yeah, and the one before this, they were both fighting their way to get through. And they
Yep,
couldn't both fit at the same time, so the one on the left got through first. But
that's
you could
funny.
you could just almost see like the disappointment after they got through it. They thought they
Yep,
were going somewhere new.
hilarious. And I'm curious, Holly, Ray, or anybody in the comments, um, do you guys, when you get new ornaments or new stuff for the seahorse tank, do they usually like get excited like that for you guys?
Well, in 20 years, I never bought anything new until just recently. I bought those seahorse simulated seahorses.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the silicone ones, yeah.
That's the only time I ever bought anything new.
Cheryl, you don't do new stuff either, do you?
I reuse everything, but I, I'm more traditional. I use artificial corals, artificial leathers, that kind of stuff.
Stuff that looks real.
Yeah, the stuff that looks real. It's a matter of personal preference.
Sure, but I will say, in my case, I usually stick with stuff that looks real or whatnot. But man, adding those shower curtain rings that was Heather's
Mhm,
idea,
mhm.
just my seahorses love them. And I mean,
It's
Oh
they,
yeah.
interesting. The ones in my display tank love theirs. And
yeah,
I reintroduced shower curtain rings after I redecorated for New Year's. After Christmas, I gave them all their new stuff, and I put the shower curtain rings back in, and I put them kind of a different way, and I hooked them onto one of their tall corals, so that hoping maybe somebody might figure it out.
right.
And there was one hanging on to it the other day and the coral at the same time. It had its tail around both of them,
Huh.
but haven't since.
That
They
makes
haven't touched it since. They're not interested in it whatsoever.
Well,
But
but
the
yours,
display tank, they love it.
your seahorses in the grow out tank, they're more bottom dweller seahorses, right? They
They're
don't go up top
small.
often.
They're smaller, and they don't. Well, they swim high up in the tank. They don't hang out up high in the tank like my
Gotcha.
other ones do. They'll swim up high to get across to the other side. And sometimes they'll hitch to the top of that one thing. But in general, they don't hang out in the upper level of the tank.
Well, and what I was going to say is
But I
with
put the
my,
rings all the way down to the bottom. So
oh,
they're
hang
not
on.
just in the top, so I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe if they're down low where the seahorses are, they'll figure it out, but they still didn't.
Sorry, pizza was at the door for the kids. I was going to say though, maybe it's not figuring it out. It's just preferences of seahorses, right?
Exactly.
Because
I think they just don't care for them like the other ones like them.
well, and mine really like it because remember the place that I don't have shower curtains in the 65. It just the rim is too thick. Like
Mhm.
it would I couldn't I know Heather uses the
Suction
suction
cat. Mhm.
cups and I could have done that, but I was just like, they're good. So 30 gallon is where I did it because it's like rimless. So they
Mhm.
fit right over the sides and I can just droop it down. And I think the reason my seahorses like them so much is because the in the all-in-one, there's the front, the tank, then there's chambers, and then the return chambers are right in the middle. There's two of them, and they shoot out, and I do have lock line on there shooting it out. But so if they hang on those shower curtains, they're
Mhm.
getting blowed. So
Ah,
that's where they sleep. They sleep getting blowed around. You know what I mean?
now
I
see,
that
the
sounds
ones
weird,
in the
but
display tank like them because they're hanging strategically near the feeding stations.
yep. So
Two
it's when they
feeding.
can use them.
So what they do is they hang on the ring and they can eat out of both dishes because they swing themselves over here and over. They're very good
Oh
at
wow.
navigating on the shower curtain rings.
That's
Yeah,
they swing it or it
yeah,
swings.
they steer it to where they want to go. And
Wow.
hang off of it. They'll eat out of this dish over here, and then they swing over here and eat out of the other dish so they can sit in one place and eat out of both places.
You have to get me a video of that. That
I
is
have
so
lots of
funny.
videos of that. If you watch on
I'm
my
about to
page
look for one.
and look at anytime they're eating, almost anytime they're eating, you'll see one of them. Usually it's Candy hanging on to the shower curtains and swinging from dish to dish.
On your personal or
Hmm.
all
Yeah,
right. I'm gonna try to
yeah.
find one. Oh my gosh.
And I'm sure there'll be some on there. They don't always sit there to eat. Candy also likes to sit in the dish.
I'm about to just share your page real quick, Holly. I hope
Oh,
that is that okay?
yeah.
Is okay.
I don't know.
No,
There's
it's
other stuff on there, but
yeah, I'm seeing this little tweeny guy.
oh yeah, that was when
Tweenies.
they were babies. Yeah, that's when the
Oh.
teenies.
All right, let me scroll down fast and see if
A
I can
few.
find babies again. Oh, I
Yeah,
can't wait to have babies again. Oh, I miss the
I know
babies.
they're
I'm not trying to
so
show your
cute.
personal stuff. All
So
right.
this is one of their new hitches in the display tank, and you can see they all love. This is the new palm tree, and you
Mm-hmm.
can see there's three of them on it. You're all fighting to be on the palm tree. They love
Yep.
that. And there's a chair. If you look right behind them, they have an Adirondack chair too.
Gosh. So they just see your seahorses love the new stuff. Sorry, not trying to
That's
show your
what I'm
personal stuff.
drinking right now. Is the
Okay.
bottle
Well,
of
let's back up.
sapphire. Yeah, so
Okay.
that's my drink tonight.
We do on Wednesday. And your what's this with the
There's my
peppermint shrimp?
shrimp. Yeah. I thought it was so funny because today was tank cleaning day.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked really hard. I scraped off the coralline algae that's in the front corner
Oof.
of the tank that's really hard to reach. I
Yep.
got scrapers and scraped and scraped. And then a few things went to the bleach bucket, but most stuff was pretty clean. So I just rinsed some things in hot water and put them back. And so as this was one of the things, I just rinsed it in hot water and I put it back a little later. And as soon as I put it back, the peppermint shrimp came running out and just started cleaning it. Like he's like, Mom, you didn't do a good job on this one.
Right?
I did it
I
for
found
you.
you missed a spot. I found it. All right, let me see if I
Uh,
can find
so
this is the
there's the
tank we looked
tank
at. Yep.
today. So
Yep.
that's
There's the
that's the coralline algae This is before and after.
Gotcha. And we see the
So
char
we
chamber right
still
there.
got some, but yeah, now you can see the char chamber.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can see in the bottom corner, that's what I use to scrape it with. It's a piece of acrylic sheet.
See,
It's
Holly, I have to commend you. I used to do posts all the time and show how I did stuff, and I have slacked on it. You do such a good job of showing, this is what I do, this is how to do it. I really appreciate that you do that. Peppermint shrimp again. Oh, herring.
Yeah, so the peppermint shrimp went and ate breakfast with Candy this morning.
Stealing the food. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, she doesn't care. She just keeps eating. She's all whatever. We've all been buddies
I
for
don't know.
years.
She's giving him a look like you better
Yeah,
be eating the little
she's
pieces.
all, that's my food. Well, she gives
Right.
everybody that look.
Yep.
That's kind of why she wants
okay.
the dish.
Here's the curtain swings.
Yeah, so here's Scrappy Doo trying to flirt with Candy at the feeding dish. Yeah, see how she's hooked in that ring?
Yep.
She's
Oh,
not
look.
swinging on it right now, but sometimes she'll hitch higher up and then she can eat out of both dishes.
Well,
Look
you
at
can
she's
see
not
she's
having
moving
it.
it. She's
She's
not
all,
having
I'm
it.
trying to eat.
Anybody who's new to seahorses, this is a male trying to badger a female, and she's not having it.
She's all,
For
I was
sure.
trying to eat.
Yep, leave me
Yeah,
alone.
see, she's on the ring.
Is that something like,
just trying to find.
I got a headache?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm trying to
I
eat
have
my
a headache.
breakfast. And yes, he
I'm
was
just trying
hitting on the other female. That's the chair.
Sorry, I'm going fast. I'm not trying to show I'm not trying to share your whole page. You can go to Holly's page to see all this.
This
I was
is
just trying to
waking
find
up. So that's before all these are before the lights come on.
I'm just trying to find the dang. I should have found it before I shared. Sorry.
There's a lot on my page, so
I just wanted to find the swinging.
there's
because
some
I think that's so cool.
examples. There's some examples of the new lighting I was telling you about last week. So I figured out, I've got it dialed down. I do sunrise and sunset, and
Nice.
I did have to change. The default is too bright. Candy started growing algae. and so
Oh no.
and so now the cool thing is it keeps the default program in the background, but when you adjust the lighting intensity or run like a special light like here you see it's under yellow light, it'll stay until the next program time comes up, which is like the lights come on at 6:30 in the morning. They switch to moonlight at 6. Moonlight goes off at 11:30. So like in between those times, I'll set, like, for instance, in this picture, you see I put it on the yellow light for the day so it wouldn't be as bright.
Yep.
And so what I do is I run a manual sunrise at like 6:15 in the morning for them to start waking up to. And then I run a sunset at 5:30, which reminds me I got to run in there right now and start their sunset. I'll be right back.
Okay, and I got to say, your seahorses are so spoiled. This looks like a freaking resort to me. It looks like seahorse paradise to me. And I do want to know, are those, maybe Cheryl knows until Holly comes back, but are these the feeding dishes? What are those? I can't zoom in. Oh, I can zoom in. What are those? Those are the feeding dishes. They are. Okay. But everything matches, and that's so cute. I'm trying to zoom in so I don't show
Yeah, so I make their tank like a little Disneyland for seahorses. They have all fake stuff, and it's all bright and colorful. And
it reminds me a lot of Heather's tanks. Like one of her tanks that she showed us on the show, it was like there was stuff everywhere. The seahorse never got bored. They never had to, there was some fun and new stuff, and all the way in Heather's tank, it's all the way up the tank. And I mean, they just, I think that is paradise for them. Something always to do, interact with. I think that's good.
And I switch it
But
up. I switch stuff around in there, like the different holidays, and they like new stuff. When you add
yeah.
something new, I found they want to check it out. And then they there's Dandy trying to get in his chair.
I love it.
and
And someone else saying, "No, I want to get in the
then
chair."
this is funny. Well, he was flirting with Candy for a while, and then he got stuck in the chair because remember
Mm.
he's got mobility issues. So he was stuck in the chair for a minute and then he was all embarrassed.
Well, and we got,
You
that
can give me
it's a
one,
good point
Kevin.
though. It's a good point though. With these kind of decorations, you got to be on top of it and make sure they don't get stuck,
Yeah.
because they can. All right. Well, I'm
Well,
gonna
Dandy gets stuck in stuff in everything, like stuff that nobody else gets stuck in, just because of his condition.
sure.
But
I
he gets
understand it.
out. He usually just works himself out, but he has trouble moving around is the thing. So
Right, but he
every,
loves that
everything
chair.
everything is a challenge to him. See, he
Mm,
was flirting with her.
yeah. Oh, and look at the flip
See all
flops.
the
That's so cute.
algae? See all the algae on her now?
Yep. I love the flip flops though. That's so cute. I think I'm gonna quit sharing your page. I can't find the rings. We'll have to find it for next week.
Yeah, I mean, I post so much stuff. I'll try to find one and share it specifically with
Okay.
you so you can share it.
All right. That because I don't want to keep sharing your page. I feel like that's some
Yeah, I have
sort
a
of
lot.
invasion or something. And Dwight said he loves your peppermint video. And Dwight also said, "Happy New Year, Seahorse gods and goddesses." Thank you, sir. Um, but anyways, that's funny that they swing. I think you have proven the point that they like new things. I see that too. Depends on what your goal is, right? If you're just trying to entertain and
Mhm.
have a fun seahorse tank where they're active and they're whatever, this is the way to do it. If you're trying to breed or anything like crazy like what Cheryl and Ray do, then that's a different topic. You want to keep it pretty simple and focus on the quality, right? I mean, you always focus on the quality. Let me make that clear. But yeah,
Holly,
Ray,
you need to give them
you
their
never
own.
gave them new chairs.
You need to give them their own log cabin. That way they can have a
Lock.
little privacy.
Yeah.
Now that's funny you said that, Cheryl. Have you ever had seahorses that hid when they were like trying to do egg exchanges?
Now what?
Have you ever had seahorses that like hid, went behind things to try to do their courting or egg
Oh
exchange?
yeah, oh yeah. My favorite are the young pairs that are in a tank with some mature pairs. The mature pairs won't tolerate it, so they're dancing and hiding behind the rocks. And the next thing you know, they're making babies.
Ah, well, I just remember, and Ray, I'll ask you about this because you've kept so many. When I only had the two pairs of Arbori, and in both cases, if they saw me come up to the tank, they'd go behind something when they were courting. They didn't want me peeking at them. They didn't want me watching. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, different species will have
No,
different,
Ray's like my guys just went
Yeah.
at it.
My ones
different
in the grow
species have
out
different.
tank are kind of like that, but remember they try to do everything on the ground. And I've
Yeah,
never
yeah.
seen them actually attempt an egg exchange. I'll see them fooling around on the ground sometimes, but I'm always finding eggs. Like in the early morning, I'll come out to siphon, poop and stuff before I feed them, and there'll be a bunch of eggs on the ground, and there'll be ones nearby, but everybody's looking like wasn't me. I don't know how those
Yeah.
got there. Nobody's owning up to it.
And that's the other reason that I can't wait to get the seahorses from Vincent is because the pairs that I have, like I have all females that are saying I got a headache. All right. And then it looks to me like, I mean, I feed well, so maybe they just look fatter to me, but it seems like they get eggs and won't give them up. And obviously they have to be, or they have to be dumping them and I don't find them or something,
Mhm.
or they're just fat asses because I don't know, but I haven't seen any eggs or babies.
Well,
And
I
so I
have
need more
6.
seahorses to mix.
I
Try
have
changing
6
the light period
females and 1 male in
or
that one
temperature.
tank.
Wait, what'd you say, Ray?
Try changing light period and temperature.
Temperature. So would you? Well, okay. Let's discuss that real quick for anybody who's trying to breed. What temperature would you go up or down or when?
Oh, it would depend on what level it's at to start with.
So
Uh,
say it's at
you might not
70.
be able to go up much, so then the thing is to go down. And then with the lights,
So wait. So just changing it will make them think it's time to do something.
well, sometimes it'll stimulate something going, and I don't understand why. All I know is it works sometimes, but not always. And then again, same with the light. When you're changing the light, sometimes that'll work, but again, not always.
Mm-hmm.
All you can do is
Oh,
try
I've
different things.
noticed changing the light is, well, they don't know what it means because, you
Right.
know, I have this light that runs all these different things. So I'm running the lights different. And one of the things they at first thought was they'd never seen the reddish color light before I got this new light, like the pinkish of sunset and sunrise, the pinkish orange colors. So at first, Candy was like, "Oh, does this mean it's time to eat?" She went straight to the dish. She's like,
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, are you trying to teach me this is dinner time now?" Or so, you know, they have their preconceived notions of what the light means. And now
Well,
they
and
figured it out after having run for a week, and I do the sunrise and sunset every day. You know, and
yep.
they would think the blue light means it's time to eat because if the previous light it ramped up in the morning and the color was blue. So when they saw blue light, oh, it's time for breakfast. And this one, so they started to think the same things. If the light went blue, oh, maybe it's time to eat. So they're now
Yep.
kind of figuring out that the light doesn't really have to do with eating.
With right, bummer for them. But I do know. I remember when I was truly, like really deep in building tubs and trying to breed, and Dan was helping me. I remember him mentioning that too, Ray, that I can't remember he had the reasoning. He told me why, but I can't
It's
remember.
not
It'll be a question we'll have to ask him.
so,
But
not
he
so
told
much
me
color
exactly
though.
what
It's not so much color as the day
change.
length.
Yeah.
For instance, there's many animals and so on they're going to come into season with shorter days, or some might be longer days or something like that. And some seahorses don't produce all year round. So
Right.
by changing the light um, to go to a shorter time period or a longer time period, when I experimented with it, I made the changes gradual rather
Mhm.
than sudden. But I worked it so that I would go down because my lights were on for a long time. So I went to go with a shorter time period. But I probably spread it out over 4 weeks or so, just at a guess. Now I don't remember exactly, but spread it over time until I got down to a
Well,
situation.
with Holly's seahorses, the point with Holly, I think, was saying is change signals something for them.
Yeah, they're like,
Period.
what does this mean? Now,
The
here's
light.
something interesting that happened, though. I don't know if this has anything to do with the light or themselves or the fact that I changed objects around in the tank. But all of a sudden, after I changed things, they switched partners
Huh.
for
Maybe
a
they in a
while.
different. Maybe it's like that. Putting a bag over her head. Maybe
I
they
don't know.
realized I don't
But
really like that one.
Scrappy Doo and Sadie started pairing up. And Candy
Well,
and
Cheryl.
Dandy
Oh, sorry.
started pairing up. And this
Mm-hmm.
happened that now it's been like over a week now. And it's developed to the point now where they're just all together. So
Yeah.
Dandy is trying to court both Sadie and Candy, and Scrappy Doo is trying to court
Yeah,
both
but yeah,
Sadie
but
and
I don't think that's light or oddness. All my
I think
males
they
will
just decided.
always all my males have always flirted with all my females, but like when I was trying to breed really hard, my males would flirt with every girl in the tank, but they tended to go back to the one female that they really liked. Like my two biggest
Exactly.
Seahorses, the male buddy and the other boys would try to flirt with the girl, and they would all flirt, but then they'd go back to each other to make babies. And Cheryl, again, we'll ask Dan when he comes, but I believe that the reasoning, as Ray was kind of saying, is it's season changes. So because the seahorse thinks, oh, the lights are coming on, or the lighting is not as long in the day, and the temperature is colder or warmer, that means it's this month, even if it's not. That's how you trick them, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
The thing you got to remember too is a lot of times, different species have different reproductive strategies.
Right.
And like a rectus will pretty much breed year round in captivity. They do slow down in the winter months, but never had them really go to blows with each other or stuff like that. As opposed to like engines, they use their heads like a battering ram to drive other males off. And
Right.
so there's a lot of differences between the species and how they respond during courtship. And
Sure. No, that makes sense.
yeah, I had one female Combs. She was dancing with her mate; they'd already reproduced, and a male came along and tried to get between her and her mate. Danged if she didn't grab him, put him on the substrate, and hold him on the ground. She made her point.
Yes, she wrestled him down. I've got wrestling videos too, for sure. I've already told you about the Bachelor's tank too, but no, I just remembered about the seasons with at least a rectus. Like you said, there are different mating practices, and yeah, I wonder if that's it, because in my tank, if I get Vincent seahorses and I still don't see fry mixing them all, then I'm going to play with temperature, because I just realized my tank really sits like 68 to 70. And the tanks that I always kept in the previous years were at 74. So that might really be part of it, is that they just don't need to or want to or whatever. And Seahorse Corner said my biggest problem was trying to get them to stop breeding. I'd flip you off if we weren't live. I'm just kidding, but blah to you. You suck. And Ray to Kelly, I'm curious.
Her seahorses.
Oh yeah,
Heather's
send them to me.
seahorses. Yeah.
Now, to be fair, she did try to send me fry once, and it just got all mixed up. So she's a great friend and a great seahorse keeper, and she did try to help me out once. It just didn't work out, mainly because of me. You guys know I don't have good follow through. But Dwight said, yeah, I've seen the same as
Sadie's just now starting to dance with Scrappy Doo.
Okay.
She's starting to get interested, in Scrappy Doo. So we'll see what happens there. That's what's new.
Well, Dwight said he's seen the same, where reduced the life cycle very slightly, and they kept breeding and breeding. You didn't want to raise the babies, but your seahorses love to mate. And that was my experience. That's why I'm so frustrated. That's why I can't wait to get, because like, I don't know if I should say this live, but the one thing I've wondered, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, is that the seahorses that I currently have, most of them are from Ocean Rider. I've got 2 seahorses from Holly. I've got 2 seahorses, but the 2 seahorses from Dan are both male, and they're in with the oranges, right? And none of them even court. Whereas in the 40-gallon all-in-one, actually it's the female from Holly, and then a pair from Ocean Rider. So a male and a female. So there's 2 girls, 1 boy. And the 2 from Ocean Rider are constantly courting. Aphrodite wants nothing to do with either one of them. She's like, no. So she wants nothing to do with them. And I just wonder, and I'm not saying anything bad about the seahorses. They're healthy. I slack. My bowl, as Ray was pointing out last week, sucks. I don't change my socks every day or any of that. So I'm not the perfect seahorse keeper, but they're healthy as hell, and they're doing great. They just the girl doesn't seem interested. And I wonder because, Cheryl, maybe you can back me up on this. Pete, who wrote for Ocean Rider, and talks about, and the fact, but Ocean Rider used to say you had to sign something saying you would not breed. Do you guys remember that?
Yep.
When you do, Ray?
Yep.
Used to make you sign something. First of all, you had to take a class to buy seahorses from them. And then you had to sign something saying you would not reproduce seahorses. So I just wonder if they're selling pairs that are, third generation or something, or, very closely related that don't want to breed or something like that. I know my offspring wanted to breed with each other anyways.
You're going to find that from seahorses that come from all different sources. You're going to find some that
just don't breed. I know.
Yeah, and it's not so much the seahorses themselves; it's how they feel in their environment.
Well, it'll be interesting to test that theory when I get Vincent's seahorses. Because if they breed with other seahorses in the tank, just wouldn't breed with each other. Maybe it's just their personalities and they just don't like each other, or the girl just doesn't like the boy or whatever, because they court constantly. I just never see Fry. And it kind of made me wonder.
Mine are all the time.
Well, hang on. Wait, let me finish. I know, but let me finish. With Ocean Rider, they didn't want people reproducing their seahorses. They wanted to be the one-stop shop. And this was back then. I love Ocean Rider. I'm not saying anything bad about them. That's where my 2 pairs of seahorses are from, is from Ocean Rider, and I love the seahorses, but they don't breed. I'm curious if anybody in the audience, if you have seahorses from Ocean Rider, do yours breed? That's all. I'm just curious if they are preventing it somehow. You know what I mean? Probably not. I'm probably way off.
I don't buy
Maybe
that.
I'll ask him to come on because I love them. I'm not saying anything bad about them. I just, if you were a breeder, I've asked Dan this question 5 million times. As a breeder, why are you helping me? Teaching me how to do this when that's your business, right? And I do know Alyssa won't sell past first generation. She will not. She always sells first generation. So I don't know. Just I'm curious if anybody out there has Ocean Rider seahorses that have reproduced. Did yours, Cheryl? Did yours, Cheryl? They didn't? See,
Dwight says his were all Ocean Rider and were breeding.
Okay. Nope, sorry, wrong comment. All right, Dwight, well, you just proved my theory wrong. Thank you. I mean, you never know. It could be just personalities. That's why I can't wait to get Vincent's seahorses so I can mix in there. Who knows? Maybe Aphrodite will come out of her shell and we'll have. Oh, I see you drinking your drink, Miss Holly. Show us.
Yeah.
What is it again? Rum?
Yeah, so this is Bombay Sapphire Gin with fresh squeezed mandarin juice.
Love it.
What are you doing to your mandarins to get juice?
Takes a lot of them.
Yeah.
Probably.
I bet that's good though.
I think I juiced like close to 2 pounds of mandarins today. I had to use them or they were going to go bad. One of my clients has a tree, and when I came to see them, they're like, "Oh, do you want some mandarins?" And they take me to their utility room, and they have bags and bags of mandarins. So they gave me a huge shopping bag full of mandarins, and we ate some and gave some away. And there was still some left 2 weeks later. I'm like, what am I going to do with these? Well, I'm going to make cocktails. So I juiced them all.
Absolutely. And don't forget, you can always send them to Kelly to make cocktails, right? No. Real quick, guys. Heather said, my seahorses from Ocean Rider never bred. They flirted all the time, but were unsuccessful. But she also said, I think it depends on their personality and libido versus something related about where they came from. Right. And then Dwight said, started with 4 horses from Ocean Rider. I take no disrespect. I want people to come here and us have a conversation, right? I will never feel disrespected. If you disagree with me or teach me something, we're all here to do this. Ray, I'm going to let you say
Ray.
your comment in a minute. But hang on. I meant no disrespect. I love my Ocean Rider Seahorses. I'm really seriously going to try to get them to come on the channel and talk with us about their process and stuff. And I didn't mean to like say like they were doing something to the seahorses or anything. I just thought it was interesting because in my experience, every seahorse pair I've ever kept, and you're talking 5 different species, they all started breeding almost instantly, like you experienced. But I think Heather's right, at Seahorse Corner is right, that it just depends on the particular seahorses,
think of
right?
out of all
Which
the
other and
seahorses
wait,
I've
hang on,
had,
Holly.
only
Hang on,
one
hang on,
pair produced.
hang on, let me finish, and then I'll let you talk, I promise. Also, let me just point out what I said earlier. My temperature in that tank is lower than I've ever kept a tank. So that could have a big part of it too. Go ahead, Holly. Sorry.
Well, out of all the seahorses that I've kept, I only had one pair that produced fry.
Oh,
And I have the female that produced those fry, but she's mating with another male, who is actually her son. They do the courting thing every few weeks, but he hasn't had fry yet. And I'm noticing more recently they're starting to line up better, perhaps for an egg transfer. So I don't know if that has something to do with it, but it almost seems like she goes through all the motions with him, but he'll be right there with his pouch and she turns the other way.
I don't want to go too deep into this, but the thing is, I think they know. And Dan himself has said that seahorses can breed 7 generations in. That they're not like humans, they can, have babies with their kids. I would say also that Dan and Alyssa and anyone else will tell you that if you're trying to be a commercial breeder, this is why we have to be very careful. We promote captive bred seahorses for hobbyists. That's it. Always captive bred. It's so important. You can't deal with the problems that come with wild caught. But when you're a commercial breeder and you're trying to provide those captive bred species, you have to start with wild caught, and they're usually first generation, like they're not related typically. And I know a lot of breeders who won't go too many generations deep because maybe that's why your seahorse swellers. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing. But maybe something happens and go down. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Cheryl, what are your thoughts?
My biggest thing is, and it's like most people, professional breeders will tell you, it's usually not worth messing with them until they get to be about 5 years old. That's when they start producing the very, very large fry that have a very high success rate.
So you think it's just timing?
Yeah. Prior to that, it's kind of hit and miss.
So maybe they're just young, and the other pair that I had got lucky. Maybe they just figured it out quick, and
I'll tell you why I was saying what I was saying. The reason is because when I first started with seahorses, they started breeding off the bat, right? And they just never stopped. Like Shyla said, my pair did an egg exchange yesterday. I've lost count. They're not taking a break. So I don't know. I'm just not used to having seahorses that aren't giving me fry. So I'm looking for any excuse, right? It can't be me. It can't be water quality, like Ray says.
Only about a quarter of the ones she's had successfully bred.
Really? What? Okay, but I have a question. Wait. I have a question. Okay, I would say only about a fourth of the ones I've kept successfully bred. The ones that did were overbreeders that had plenty of seahorses that aren't successful and don't try. So my question is, are these all offspring of your originals or new? Because that's kind of where I'm
You want
trying to
to
figure it
start?
out.
Okay. My first pair of seahorses ultimately did pair up and produce fry. And it was a very small brood. But I did manage to raise some. That was my first attempt ever. And then I got a very large male from Draco Marine.
Right.
The difference between what that pair with the huge male from Draco Marine, the difference between what they produced, the survivorship of the fry, the whole 9 yards, it was phenomenal. And it didn't take her more than a couple of days to figure out he had her number. Because if she didn't, if she looked at another male, he'd go pin her on the floor.
Yep. Well, and I would say maybe you're right. I'm just throwing out my thoughts, guys. I'm just frustrated. Like I said, I'm just trying not to blame myself. This can't be my fault that they're not breeding. Can't be water quality.
Heather
And
said
it might be.
most
I
were
know.
ones
I'm getting.
she raised. It's
I'm
3
getting ready to.
generations down.
Okay, Heather said, first of all, lots of live foods is what got mine going. I'm trying that for sure. And I agree with that. Absolutely. Also, adding another seahorse or potential gets them interested in breeding with each other again or the new one in the tank. That's my game plan. I'm adding Vincent's. If they still don't breed, then damn it, it's the water quality. I got to admit it. But you also said, and I'm also, the other thing, guys, is I've never typically kept them in a 40-gallon all-in-one. So it could be the way I'm handling that. We'll see. But most of yours, the ones you raised, are third generations. Right. I'm nothing wrong with that. I didn't mean to imply that. I just am trying to figure it all out, guys. This is something I don't know, and I'm not trying to say I do. I'm trying to figure it out because I'm pissed that I don't have fry. That's it. End of story.
Well,
And
remember
Ray,
too,
go ahead.
and when you have a breeding pair, that pair is breeding and reproducing because they're probably the largest pair in the tank.
Right.
They also have a tendency to inhibit younger, smaller seahorses unless they're smart enough to go hide behind the rocks to get it done, which I've seen happen.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping once I add a pair for Vincent or two, I'm hoping that they'll either be bigger or small and be so attracted to the other, like, oh, he's so big, or oh, she's so small, or whatever, that something chemistry starts happening. But I mean, I'm just testing things out, and in my case, won't be a definite answer anyways, because it still could be the temperature. It still could be just the personal seahorse experience, and their likes and dislikes. She might just not like him. I mean, and my female, by the way, from Ocean Rider, came with a ball on her tail. And I was worried about it. I talked with Cheryl about it. I talked with Ocean Rider about it. And it's grown at the same rate as she does. So it's just a deformity. But who knows if, who knows? Who knows? I'm not trying to, say anything or try to predict anything or, try to anything. Okay. Yeah, could be genetic. Okay. And Heather said, Granddad was wild caught male and Grandma was seahorse savvy. Their babies were extra horny and their grandkids aren't. Maybe the further you get from wild caught brood stock, the less horny. And I would say, like, I don't want any person, hobbyist, ever think go get wild caught because you don't understand. Cheryl could go on for hours about how much it takes to condition wild caught to become breeders. You have to treat them for worms and parasites. Please don't ever go get wild caught. But I agree with your statement. And I'm glad that Alyssa gets wild caught in and conditions them and goes through all that. And I wish we had more commercial breeders that do that. I know Ocean Rider does too. I'm thankful for them. So thankful that they do that because I wouldn't want to do that. Getting wild caught in, no, I would never do it. But I agree with your statement that the further away we get, I just agree with your statement. That's all.
Well, the other thing is keep in mind too, you've got different species. So depending on the species you're going to work with, they're going to have different water temperature parameters that they need. They're going to have different types of food sources. They're going to need different tank designs, things like that, to accommodate the different species. And it is difficult if you haven't kept them before because you don't know
Sure.
what you need to do.
Yeah, no hobbyist should ever go get wild caught. But as Heather said too, could be a captive bred thing depending on how far from the wild caught. Or no, I meant to show the next one. Sorry. It was my first seahorse. I didn't realize he was wild caught when I ordered him, but definitely don't recommend ordering. You said something then I don't know, but definitely hobbyists stay away from wild caught. But I am glad because I think that's true. Think about it. You get a wild caught seahorse. It's been eating live foods that's been algae in the ocean. It's got all the nutrients it needs. It's bigger, it's stronger. They don't live as long in the ocean. There's a definite reason that captive breeding is necessary for the hobby, and just hell, our seahorses live longer in captivity than they do in the ocean. They really do. So we're not hurting them for conservationists, but and when I said, as I said, hobbyists stay away from wild caught. But I'm glad that they do bring in new blood as breeders, right?
Yeah. But
And Ray,
remember,
you never had wild caught, did you?
No, never had wild caught.
And your
I had
seahorses
pen
bred
raised.
like rabbits.
I had pen raised, net pen raised, so that was the next closest thing to it. And after the first ones, and I learned to do the deworming process on them. And yeah, it's a pain in the.
Oh yeah.
As far as the breeding and not breeding, I can remember back many years ago when I was raising the reed-eye. I had one tank of reed-eye that was producing, the other one wasn't. I got them all at the same time, all from the same source, and I had no idea why. I even tried switching the pairs around to see if I could get two pairs going, and the ones in that tank, when they were working in one tank and then moved them to the other tank, or one of them into the other tank, nothing happened.
So sometimes it's just we don't know.
Something
We
about
don't
the
know.
surroundings of that tank had something to do with it.
yeah.
Well, wait a minute. If the tank had something to do with it, why, when you switched them up, did they still not breed?
Well, when I put I think it was the male from the breeding tank, I put in the non-breeding tank, and that male I put into the breeding tank. Well, they were producing in that breeding tank, but now I had a mixed pair in the non-breeding tank, and still no breeding.
Well, like I said, if I get Vincent seahorses and I still don't get stock, I'm gonna have to admit maybe it's something I'm doing wrong in the tank. I don't disagree with you, and maybe I'll change things up, my water schedule. Maybe I'll change the tank around, because all those things do matter. But sometimes a seahorse just doesn't like another seahorse, right? And you know what, Cheryl?
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind too is in the wild, most males set up a home range, a territory, and they do not venture very far. The females come along, that's where they start dancing, and a female may go and mate with a male once, and then take off and go find another male and another male and another male, and so on through the breeding season. And so it made I've questioned this for quite some time. Is part of the problem if they are not reproducing related to the lack of territory that the males have?
Oh, so like you mean lack of territory, and I talk about that in my how to set up a seahorse tank video. But so you think maybe like because they're in a smaller, shorter and the male doesn't have his territory, maybe is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
But some don't care apparently, because they'll breed.
Right.
I have the same tank that I had when I had the breeding pair.
Right.
So and they
And I
started
remember
breeding
Harding
right
Reed.
away. They were 5 months old. I had only had them a month when they had their first almost said litter. Their
Right.
first batch. So, and then it was like back to back to back to back. But since Sandy passed away, none of the males, have gotten pregnant. And I don't have many males now. There's Dandy, who can't breed. And the only other males I have is Scrappy Doo, in the display tank. And then in my grow out tank, I have one male and 6 females. And
Poor guy.
they're after him all the time. Like, I'll catch him flirting, and he's got 3 of them.
Yep.
He'll do 3 at a time,
Well,
flirting.
you know what? It's interesting you said that though, because when my statement earlier that I got seahorses in and they just started breeding and didn't stop, but it was always the original pair. Like,
Mhm.
I think only once. Okay, so here's the long and short of it. So I got my first seahorses. They gave me fry right away. Their fry, I didn't separate them. But those 2 first seahorses are the ones that kept giving me fry as the batches went along.
Mhm.
And to learn how to raise them by talking to Cheryl and Dan and everything, because out of my first batch, I only kept 1 fry alive. So anybody who's failed, don't feel bad. 1 fry alive. The second batch, I think I lost all of them. The third batch, I kept 5. And then I ended up with like 100 seahorses that I was raising. And then I realized, oh my God, this is more than I knew what I was going to do. Set up this 90-gallon tank. And 2 of them actually. Anyways, bottom line is they did start courting each other. And I did have maybe 3 or 4 batches of fry out of them that before I sold the seahorses or rehomed them. But now that I think about it, it was mainly original pair giving me fry. I did raise a 3rd generation offspring from my pairs, but it really was the 1st generation. And every other species I kept saying I got just bred like crazy right away, but they were all the original species or original ones that I got. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm just hoping that when I get Vincent's, that they start getting freaky with mine. That's what I want. And Gina's
and I don't
fry.
know, like, what's the point, like for Candy, if she's not going to do the egg exchange, why does she go through 3 days of courting with Scrappy Doo? I mean, it's always 3 days, day and night, and they dance and don't
and they eat less, right? Yep.
And so I'm like, well, if she didn't like him or want to court, why would she be going through all that if she wasn't trying?
That's exactly that's exactly what I'm experiencing, Ray. So you're saying it's instinct for them to court, but something in the tank is causing them not to do it? The egg exchange? My female even gets her. I know what a pregnant female looks like. Yeah. Not a pregnant female.
Oh, yeah, they have eggs.
An egg
no, they have eggs, but what are they doing?
In my experience, though, the ones that weren't producing, they weren't producing eggs either.
See, I swear she's producing eggs, but
if
I say that
case, you've got to have seen the orange egg.
And I haven't.
Yeah, and I haven't. He's not producing eggs then.
So maybe it's the girl. Maybe it's just the girl. Maybe she's not producing eggs, and they instinctually go through the motions.
Will they still get swollen like they have eggs, though?
Yeah, well, that can depend. Like maybe it's like the males that do a false pregnancy. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, but
interesting.
That is interesting. Maybe she is bloating up to make herself look pregnant. I don't know.
Because in that tank,
not pregnant. I keep saying pregnant. In that tank, females don't get pregnant.
I've only seen eggs once. I've only seen spilled eggs once in that tank. Not like the grow out tank where there's eggs all the time. So it could be maybe she's not producing eggs.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But maybe it's something else that creates the swelling, the look that she has eggs. And it's routine. It's every 3 weeks they do this. And then
wait a minute. Wait, time out. Maybe it's exactly what Ray said. Maybe it's instinctual. Maybe their body does whatever in response to the courting behavior that they're doing instinctually, but she just doesn't physically produce the eggs.
Yeah, maybe she has the estrogen or whatever
Yeah,
chemicals in her body that it takes.
right.
She's not producing eggs.
Vincent, I
don't
need
know.
a female too. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. Interesting.
What were you going to say? It is interesting. Good conversation. And I don't know the answers, guys, but as I go along, I'm going to share this stuff. I almost have the website finished. I've been working on it on the side. And not only will it share all my stuff, it'll share all of and all the information from Dan. But I got to get better at posting. I know I've slacked way too much lately, past couple of years. But I will share what happens as I get these new seahorses in and see what happens. It was just, and maybe it's the ocean. I mean, you could get deep down and get real if but people aren't having trouble with seahorses having fry. Most aren't. Most get their seahorses and they got fry and they don't even want them. Whereas me, I always had fry, but now I don't. I don't know. No answers. Were you going to say something, Cheryl?
I'm wondering if what's going on with your water parameters.
I mean, they're good. I don't mind you questioning me on that at all, but
No,
I know when someone says they're good, what are they, right? I mean, what do you want me to
good, but I'm wondering if there's something in there that's causing inhibition in terms of reproductive behavior. It could be temperature. It could be things.
Right. Well, that's what I'm going to
Could
play
be
with that
O2
too.
saturations. Yeah,
need more oxygen. No, you're absolutely right. And I do have the char chamber in there though now. And, I don't know. I make sure that one of my lock lines go up so it doesn't waterfall back into the tank, creating, what do you call it? At the top,
Aeration.
surface agitation and aeration. Right. So, but it is an all-in-one. So, maybe the skimmer's not great enough. I don't know. But the 65 gallon's not doing anything either. The seahorses in there, nothing. Of course, the two males from Dan are very old. He warned me about that before he sent them. And so that could maybe they're too old. And the pair from Ocean Rider, they were orange. So maybe they're special. I don't know. I don't know, guys, but I will keep sharing as I figure it out.
Well, it's one of those things where when there's mate selection going on, we don't necessarily understand all the principles of what they're looking for that goes into the mate selection. And we can't become a seahorse, so we can't say exactly what it is. But just like, do you go after every guy you meet? Seriously.
But if I'm going after, I'm not going to fake it like Candy does.
Some women do, though.
Though. I mean, why is she going through 3 days of courtship? For her.
Yeah, but I think Ray's right. It's probably instinct. Hey, really quick, total side note, but I wanted to show you guys because we shared holiday stuff and seahorse items the other week, and I couldn't find my seahorse earrings that I got from SB Reef Lights owners, Mike and look at these. Aren't they adorable? Wait, I got to stop it ringing.
Cute. That's so cute. Earrings, you said?
Yep. The other ones. And I have a necklace that matches. I have so much seahorse. But I didn't give them credit for sending or show them, so I wanted to. And I always want to see what you guys get to.
Gifts, Holly. The seahorse pendants that you had made. I gave one to each of my nieces.
Mm-hmm.
My sister called me Christmas morning and said, they love them. They're both wearing them.
Aw, glad they like them.
I love mine too. Hey, real quick, Alicia wants to know, does every seahorse species have the same mating call or dance? And I want Cheryl to answer this first. But Cheryl, while you're answering it, one thing that I talk about in my videos is that every seahorse species I've ever kept as they do the courting dance, the woman does the nod. And that's his sign to go up, spin, and do the egg exchange. She always does the nod. Is that true for every species?
No.
Who doesn't do the nod?
The classic example is combs, who typically will do an egg transfer while hitched. But again,
But she doesn't nod.
I'm sorry?
She doesn't do the nod where
No.
she lifts her snout up. Wow. Okay, go on.
Basically, the theory is that the reason they stay hitched is because they come in, they're considered a reef dwelling species. So they live in an environment that has a lot of flow. And if they were trying to do a courtship dance and an egg transfer, like erectus do, they get blasted across the country. So it varies by species.
Interesting. And they don't,
I
as
was
you just
just
said,
reading about them in that book. I finally got to the part of the book that talks about the different species. It's interesting.
do most species have the same dance though? Nod, egg exchange. Is combs one of the only ones that are different?
No, there's others.
Really?
It's
Well, I'm
like
sure pygmies are different for sure.
Some don't even have a pouch. Yeah, like the pygmies.
Pygmies
Yeah, I
have
was
a pouch.
reading about. They don't. They keep the eggs inside their body cavity.
Really?
Yeah.
I
No,
did not know
I'm
that.
learning a lot of interesting stuff in that book.
Well, you have to be careful.
And
Anybody
my
can say
favorite
anything.
so far that I've seen in there so far are the hystrix, because I just love that long, long snout. I just think that's so cute.
That was my before I got the erectus, my very first species that I screwed up on. I never mention them because I screwed up so badly. I didn't know I was doing it, but I got a wild caught pair of hystrix. They were so beautiful.
It says in the book they're not good aquarium species.
Yep,
So don't
and I
feel
failed.
bad.
They
Don't
needed
feel
they
bad.
needed live foods, and I didn't know, and the person that sold them didn't know, and you know how it goes.
They're very different, but they sure are cute. I love
Wait a
that
minute.
snout.
So I'm reading right here
Mm-hmm.
that pygmy seahorses, it says, unlike other seahorses, male pygmy seahorses use a pouch in their trunk, not their tail,
Mm-hmm.
to brood their young. But it's still a pouch.
Some of them don't have that though. It depends on the pygmy.
Different
There's
species.
a bunch of different pygmies. And some of them have a pouch, but it's like inside, and some of them it's just in the body cavity.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, the person I trust the most about seahorses or pygmy seahorses is I'm trying to remember his name. I'm so sorry. And I'm not going to find him, but I'm going to try to get him on the show.
It's probably the one that's in the book because there's a guy that
Richard Smith.
they have
No
credit for a lot.
Is it
of
Richard Smith?
Well, I have the book in the other room. I'd have to grab it, but that sounds familiar, so maybe it is.
Okay, well, hopefully, because this guy has done so much work with pygmies. He was friends with, remember when we had the ichthyologist on? Yeah, he was friends with him. And this guy, Ocean Realm Images, you can contact here. I will contact him and try to get him on the show because he is amazing about pygmies. Anyways, I got off track. Sorry. And Zen Ginger said, kind of jumping back to the other conversation, maybe she doesn't even realize she's not making eggs. Why do my two females, freshwater angelfish, lay eggs together? They obviously don't quite get it. Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Maybe they don't get it. Or they don't like each other.
Well, maybe she thinks she's transferring eggs.
Well,
maybe she just doesn't have eggs to transfer because, like I said, they're going through all the motions of it.
Maybe she can't produce the eggs. Right. That's what I'm thinking. Something genetic. But with the angelfish, they lay eggs. So, yeah, Zen, you got some weird ass angelfish. I don't know. Because, yeah, I had to work. I actually bred freshwater angelfish. Hang on. I bred freshwater angelfish before I got into saltwater, and it was a chore trying to get the female to lay the egg, trying to get them matched up. That was a chore too, just as much as seahorses. So you've got two females laying eggs. If you're interested, you need to get a male because that would be on. All he needs to do is spray them. And it's a pain trying to keep them. I remember using the Metro Blue and all that, but still pretty cool that
It'd
you got
be
two
like, just
females
like
laying
the
eggs.
seahorses. Who's your mommy?
Yep. I got to get those shirts for sale. I got to get, in fact, I'm going to go grab that shirt and show you guys again. But Cheryl, what were you going to say?
I don't know. I just got disrupted by a message on my phone. Bear with me.
Oh, sorry. All right. Well, somebody talk while I grab this shirt. Ray, what are you thinking? But anything.
At my age, it doesn't pay to think.
There's a question from Alicia's wondering, how long does it take for a Comez to start producing eggs? There's a question for Cheryl, I guess.
My son is doing something with my phone.
The ones that I had, they were probably 7 or 8 months old before they started that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it depends. It's like hippocampus zebra are going to have a completely different social strategy than, say, erectus. Erectus live in high volumes in close proximity to each other and in shallow waters. Hippocampus zebra is a deep water species, so they're bound to have different patterns of behavior. That would be normal. In fact, I'd be surprised if they didn't have different patterns of behavior.
Can we all tell that Cheryl's desperate to get her hands on some zebras? She was mentioning them. But no, I agree with that. I just, it's been a question that's been asked numerous times, but we talk a lot about how, okay, erectus are different because of where they come from, their habitat, their feeding behaviors, their, proximity behaviors. But when they're captive bred, they're all bred in a tank. So why does that carry on? Why does that instinct
Because they still
carry through?
have the basic instincts to go through a courtship and mating in a precise manner.
So so it's true. It is passed from your parents to you, and you just know things because that's what it is. I mean, that just seems so weird to me. Like
Animals do it. When you look
I
at
know,
dogs
but
and cats, there are certain things that they've been captive bred for God knows how long, and they still do things that are instinctive.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I guess I keep thinking like humans. Like you think about the stories. If a kid's born with a silver spoon in its mouth, it's going to end up different than a kid born, in a crappy neighborhood with nothing. And some rise above. I guess you're proving what I'm.
Well,
I guess I'm proving your point.
I can say now, Scrappy Doo got to witness his parents courting, because Sandy was still alive when I put Scrappy Doo in the tank, and he followed them around and was showing off his pouch to them. Like, look, I've got one of those too. They'd be courting and he'd be swimming around them, showing his pouch. And so he watched them a lot. He watched his parents do the courting thing. And so he knows how to do it. He does a good job with the swimming and all that, the circling. Now my other male has never seen that. And he's
Wow,
never
you might be onto something.
and he's never tried it. He
You might
does
be no,
the
you
vibrating
might
thing with them sitting next to somebody, and the females will nod. They'll try to get
do
him
the
to
nod,
swim up.
right?
He doesn't get it, I think.
I think you might be onto something because I was looking at it at a genetic level or at a generations in level, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's just what they've seen. If you think about it,
Mm-hmm.
first generation probably has seen it. Wild caught obviously have seen it. That's interesting. And Ray said Ray, say what you were going to say.
Well, basically, the human race proves the point. we keep on reproducing, and we have a situation where many don't want to reproduce, and it happens anyway. Then you have others that want and can't.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And
One
really
of my
quick,
favorite. One of
hang on, hang on. Hang on, Cheryl. Total side note. Who wants this shirt? Who's your mama?
I love it.
Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
This shirt will be available on the website. If you look close, the male's rolling his eyes. I'm trying to get it right up close.
It's real
And
cute.
has babies around him, and the woman looks like a foxy mama. Who's your mama? Right? And of course, the logo on the back. Those will be available soon. All right. I just had to promote. All right.
That's
Go on,
cute.
whoever was talking. Cheryl, I think it was you.
What was I saying? One of my favorite
I
things
don't
is
know.
watching. I've got actual photos of a pair of combs. It was my wild caught pair, and they had completed an egg transfer 3 days earlier. I witnessed the egg transfer. So what's she doing? She's still trying to get him to court with her, and she got her tail wrapped around his pouch, and she's trying to drag him in circles. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not the way you do it. But she was just over excited, so to speak. It was very early on
Sure.
in their pattern. But it was so funny to watch them go through this because she was still hot to trot, and he was like, I'm not going
Whoa.
anywhere.
Right. Well, and I would say, as Holly and I have mentioned, our frustration is the fact that they are going through the right. They're doing everything right.
Mhm.
It's just not happening. But we'll figure it out. We'll keep messing with it. Tanya wants to know, do you guys sell your seahorses? I will say that I have actually gone through the process to be licensed to sell. I just need the damn fry. As soon as I have seahorses I can raise and sell, I will, but I don't have any right now. Holly, are you currently selling? Or?
No, because I don't have any to sell. I sold
Right.
the babies that I wanted to sell. And like you said, nobody's producing fry now, so I don't have any to sell.
Heather, I'm curious if you're selling. And the two places, as we've talked all night about, I would recommend, since Seahorse Source is not in business anymore, is Seahorse Savvy and Ocean Rider. I know you already have seahorses, I think, Tanya, but that's the two companies I would recommend until I get mine going, right? But anyhow, Ray, you're completely out of the game, right?
Yeah, I've stopped now. I sold them to other stores as well as selling to hobbyists that contacted me direct. But most of them went through stores because I didn't have enough contact with enough people for the amount that I was producing.
Right. That is the trouble too. Anybody who out there who
Yep.
wants to breed, let me just tell you before you begin, be ready. Be ready, because at first you try and you don't succeed and it's so frustrating. Then you succeed and then you're like, oh crap, I'll never
What do I do
forget.
with them all?
I'll never forget when I first had success with a brood of seahorses, fry. I contacted Pete. I didn't know Dan yet. And I just got lucky. When I learned how to really keep them, I met Dan and Cheryl. But I had like a minor success. I think I told you guys like 30 or something lived. And they had lived past the point of weaning.
You've
And
been
I
at
was
this too long.
hang
You've been
on.
at this too long. When you actually start going, drop the eggs, please drop the
Yeah,
eggs.
right. But anyways, so I was successful to an extent. Out of hundreds of babies, I kept 30 alive. And I contacted Pete from Ocean Rider. And I said, okay, now explain how to keep fry. And he went through a detailed, very good explanation of, the brine shrimp. Oh, I'm going to mute you real quick. So the artemia, the feeding them, how many feeds a day. He went detailed. And then I responded and I said, and this was all, like on a post. And I said, no, I meant, let me be clear. I didn't mean the nursery tank. I meant the rearing tank. When they're past weaning and they're actually becoming seahorses, and they're starting to court with each other. And, do I separate them? And how do I keep all of them until I can sell them? And blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, at a hobbyist level, don't even bother trying. And I was like, what? Are you serious? Why would you say that to me? It pissed me off bad. And that's when I went and found and met Dan and Cheryl. And I don't think he was being malicious. I think he was just being realistic, because once I did meet Dan and Cheryl and tried to do it, it was like all consuming. I mean, you've got tanks all over your damn house. You've got fry tubs everywhere. And if you want to do it for real, if you want to do it for fun, do it, because it is fun. I love watching the babies. I love getting them weaned onto foods. I love raising a seahorse to an adult, and having that seahorse be an adult. And you're like, it was a little egg and I raised it.
Yeah,
Maybe it's mothering instinct. I don't know.
I love
But if you want to do it for real, on a commercial level, be ready, because it's work. I'd be happy to talk to you on the side about it, because it's work. And I'm getting ready to try to do it myself, but fingers crossed. I got to get the fry first, right? Holly, what were you going to say? Right.
At this point, Dandy and Candy are the only seahorses that I did not raise from fry. All my other ones I raised. And it's so cool because, you get to know them. And as you spend more time with the seahorses, you tell individuals apart. Like, especially the ones you've raised, as they grow up. Like, I can find Sadie in her baby pictures, because the way she looks stands out to me. She has a look that the other seahorses didn't have, So when I'm looking in my past pictures of Fry, now that she's an adult, a lot of times I can pick her out from when she was a couple months old.
No, little Cheryl.
And you just know. You're like, that's Sadie.
Little Cheryl, who was named after a different Cheryl than our Cheryl, but a Cheryl that was a strong ass woman herself. Anyways, little Cheryl, who was named after this other Cheryl, she was the one seahorse I kept out of the first batch that I actually managed to raise to adulthood. And I wanted to do more with this channel and make her my mascot or whatnot. But I mean, absolutely, you can tell your seahorses once you get to know them, even the fry. But of course, Holly, we haven't had thousands. Dan probably couldn't tell a seahorse from another, or Ray, or Cheryl, because they had thousands. We've had hundreds,
Yeah, well, there's different levels, I think, of raising. Like a commercial breeder, probably wouldn't. But
I've
when
never
you're
ever even named a
few, you never even named the seahorse. I don't name all of them. I'll say most of the ones.
I don't either.
Most of the ones in my grow out tank are not named. A few of them are. In the display tank, they are all named.
Yep. My originals are named. I'm with you. Once you have a bunch of babies, it's different. Seahorse Corner said she doesn't have babies for sale either. She sold hers to the public aquarium and kept a couple from her last batch, not raising any more of them. I hear you. And luckily, they have stopped breeding for now, but the public aquarium will come and get babies from you if they do have them, if your seahorses have them. I'm curious. So you literally gave your babies away. They didn't even pay you. It was just a labor of love.
She won't have to raise them.
They'll know, but
babies. I like that idea. I wish I had that option.
Babies. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. That makes sense. Somebody like Chris Carey comes and gets them, and they raise them at the aquarium.
Up. Yes. Thank you. I need that.
Yeah. Do seahorses from the same fry mate with each other? Yes. Anything to add, Holly?
I was just reading Heather's comment. She says, yes, seahorses will sleep with anyone unless you separate them.
A lot of commercial breeders will separate the males and females and partner them up as they see fit from different batches. That's what I'm saying. You have tanks all around the house. Because absolutely, when we were talking earlier about generations, it's like first generation seahorses aren't related. They're two seahorses that aren't related. Then they have fry. That's second generation. If those seahorses sleep with each other and they sell, they're second generation. If those babies sleep with each other, then you got third generation. And seahorses, according to Dan, are perfectly acceptable and great for an aquarium up to 7 generations. Not like humans, but whatever.
I feel kind of lucky actually that I wouldn't be able to raise fry right now. I couldn't do it. But it happened at the right time for me. I mean,
Yep.
it was the beginning of COVID. Everything shut down, pretty much. I'm in insurance, so I was getting paid by renewals. I wasn't seeing a lot of clients, so I had a lot of time to raise the babies. They're very labor intensive is the thing. And so, it's hard to raise them, I think, if you're working a full schedule, on
Sure.
on a regular job or something. They
Yep.
are very labor intensive.
And I never meant to claim like I would ever be some big commercial breeder. I just do it I love it. That's it. I just love it.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I don't keep them all alive, I'm still keeping more alive than would not be alive and can sell to friends and people I know. You know what I mean? That's all my goal is, and to have more seahorses around my house again. Ray, what's the biggest, like when you were breeding, what's the most tanks you had set up to keep seahorse fry?
Just the fry or all the seahorses?
All of them. Like how many tanks?
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
at the most, I had 7 seahorse tanks, and then well, with the rearing, that was anywhere from 4-liter jars. I have a dozen of those, up to 55-gallon tanks, and
Yeah.
trying to think how many altogether.
Too many.
Yeah, well, basically, I had around 1,000 gallons of water in the basement, but that includes my reef tanks too.
Cheryl, what about you? At your peak of breeding, how many tanks did you have set up? How many tubs? How much water did you have flowing through your house?
Oh, she's muted.
Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. Start over, Cheryl. Tell us again.
Okay.
No, you're unmuted. It was me. Go ahead.
Yeah, at one point I had 16 tanks set up. It was a combination of different sizes for nurseries to large adult tanks and stuff. And at one point, when I finally decided I had to back off, was when I had basically anywhere from 20 to 50 seahorses in each tank.
Wow.
Good
And
grief,
I was working full time with back then too. And I reached the point where I said, I need to, this is not sustainable. And I was able to find homes for them. But even that was stressful because so many people don't listen and decide that they to go their own way, so to speak. And it gets kind of discouraging.
Sure. I hear you. And yeah, and that's the other thing that I experienced is make sure, like in my home, we use central air, which is great for the just regular seahorse tanks because it keeps the temperature the same, and it's great for us as humans. But my windows don't open, so like when I had a reef tank, I had to run the skimmer line outside because the pH was getting too low. That doesn't matter as much with seahorses, but once you get 50 tanks in your house, tubs, whatever, no matter the size, you've got so much water going on that I would come home and my floor would be slick. And I finally got what's it called where you measure the water in the room? No, the temperature,
Dehumidifier.
the thing that measures it. The little, I can show it to you.
Oh, barometer? Not. Yeah.
Hydrometer?
Let me grab it. Hang on.
Hydrometer. A hydrometer.
I think that's it. Hang on. I'm going to grab it and show you, and then we're going to read how the
Hygrometer.
Yeah, hydrometer.
No, grometer. G.
Uh,
A hydrometer.
Yes, that's it. I can't find it anyways, but it's a hydrometer. Hydrometer. Cheryl had it. Anyways, and mine was always
That's a
off
joke.
the damn. But no, it was off I can't find it right now, but it was off the charts. Like every time I would check, no matter what I did, Dan gave me so many tips about putting something in the central air, putting things around the house, and I even had rock salt to try to soak this, moisture in the air up. It didn't make any of us sick, but I mean, my floors were slick. We rent this house, thank God, because there's probably mold. I don't know.
I had to replace all the
But
windows and doors. But then
yeah,
after I did that, then I bought a heat recovery ventilator and installed that and never had a problem after that.
really? Well, that's interesting.
But it was,
And all I'm trying to say is anybody out there who wants to really go into breeding, if you want to do it as a hobbyist just for fun, we can show you how. If you want to do it as a commercial breeder and get really successful, we can show you how, but it takes work. It's not, you can't, it, like Dan said, you can't really do it in your house. He did, but he had the space, he had the area, he set up a whole system.
takes
You know,
work and money. A lot of
Yep.
money too. It's expensive to raise fry.
Yep. But there's nothing wrong with doing it on a hobbyist level, right? It's
Yeah.
just fun. You're
Yeah.
not hurting anything. Those fry would never have been born otherwise, and you
Mhm.
can save some seahorses and help the hobby. Nothing wrong with that. And Seahorse Corner said, no, the marine biologists buy them from me. They pay the same price as anyone else. I didn't know that. So anyone breeding, we need to ask Heather how to
Mhm.
get in touch with marine biologists in the area, because that's a
Mhm.
fantastic idea. Fry they can have. Can't give those away. They drive hours to come. The seahorses for me, those surprise. I'm guessing. That's not surprising. I'm
Mhm.
glad that they're doing that. That's awesome.
Mhm.
And Zen Ginger said, "This is the year. You're definitely getting seahorses. You've got the 75, and okay, you're deciding between a 75 and a 125. How many seahorses do you want to have? Because if you're wanting more than a couple pair, I would definitely go 125 if you can.
Mhm.
The only problem with the 125 is you do need many seahorses. It can be an amazing, beautiful tank, but if you have a 125 with 4 seahorses, it would be boring. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
they would they wouldn't have enough
Mhm.
activity to entice your tank. I can tell you, my daughter's friends, people at my work, people in general that just hear about the channel or just hear about me, they're like, "You keep seahorses? Oh my God, I can't believe you keep seahorses. Can I see?" My daughters videotape them and send them to their friends, and they're like crazy about it. So it's a really cool thing, and people don't know you can do it. And we try to help people know that it's not as hard as it seems. You just have to set up right and etc. But people will be flocking to your tank. But I'm just saying, if you're going to keep a couple pair, do it as a 75. If you want an extravagant, badass,
Mhm.
multiple seahorses all over doing different things, do the 125. Just make more water is better.
Mhm.
Would you agree with that, Ray? More water is better?
yep.
As long as your flora will support it.
Mhm.
Yeah, the floor. That's true.
Yeah,
That's
check your
for sure.
flooring too. Check under your house. My husband checked under the house before we put up the 75-gallon, honestly.
Yeah.
And my floor sank in. It really did. It sank
Mhm.
in with my tubs. So I had to move them. But Seahorse Corner said, Scranton Public Aquarium horses you raised. Wow. Oh, that's so cool. You see, you're supporting and supplying the public
Mhm.
aquariums.
Mhm.
Bravo. That's
Mhm.
amazing. And okay, last thing, Zen Ginger said you want 3 to 4 horsies, but potentially a few other fish and
Mhm.
gorgonians.
Mhm.
Um, a 75 would
Yeah.
absolutely work with that setup, but I would say if you're trying to like experiment, we want people to do
Mhm.
this, right? We tell
Mhm.
you if you want to keep seahorses, it's best to keep them alone and keep them in this type of setup. but more people need to experiment with keeping them with other things and different things. And I think that what Cheryl said earlier was right on. Territories. The more room they have, the more they can go with other things.
Yeah.
Holly, you're trying to talk. Go
No,
ahead.
I'm think well, 3 or 4 seahorses and some other fish. That's perfect. I think because you need more water for more fish.
Right.
So if you're having more fish, just a few seahorses make sense. Yeah,
Right. And Dan has talked
sure thing.
about, oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but Dan has said numerous times, like when we bring him on the channel, I'll be like, yeah, so we need to tell everybody to just keep seahorses alone, right? And he's like, no, that's not right.
Mhm.
That's right. If you want a 40, if you want a minimum 30, 40-gallon tank with seahorses, you need to keep them alone, keep them sterile, keep them this, that, and the other. If you want to go out and do a real tank, like a bunch of or a few seahorses and other fish and coral and all this,
Mhm.
just give them their space, because the more water, the better. And I know, Ray, you're going to say you still should keep seahorses alone or with the qualified animals that are on seahorse.org, as Cheryl has pointed out. It rates their acceptability with seahorses. But Dan has talked about one of his favorite clients had a 300-gallon tank and a 300-gallon sump, and he kept the seahorses in the sump, and they did excellent because it was so much water, right? And he took care of the water. So it does come down to water quality and how big your tank is. Cheryl, are you disagreeing with me?
Did I get the what?
Nothing, nothing. I thought you were shaking your head.
No.
Nothing. Would you agree with that, Ray?
I don't
You can
tell
do
people
more
that they can't have other
fish.
fish in with their tanks. I just tell them that I preferred not to in my
Right.
tanks. Well, the biggest tank I ever had seahorses in were my 90-gallon tanks, and I had enough seahorses in them that I didn't have room
Right.
for anything else. But if somebody wants to get into that, and if they research what can go in,
Yeah.
and if they take all the precautions, doesn't mean absolutely that they'll succeed. But if they do enough research on it, the odds are pretty well that they could succeed. They're still going to have to maintain the systems, though, to suit the seahorse needs.
All the things in
Right.
it.
The other
Mhm.
fish uh, will just naturally be okay in that situation.
Well, that. Sorry.
You
Go
have to
ahead.
keep in
Wait.
mind,
Wait. Wait. Wait.
the
Hang on, Holly. Hang
significance.
on, Holly. Let him finish because I tried to interrupt him too. Go ahead, Ray.
You still have the problem, though, exposure of pathogens and having that transfer from the other fish to the seahorses. If you're lucky, the seahorses are able to deal with it, but more often you're going to find that the seahorses don't do well with anything they haven't grown up with.
Hmm.
So
Well,
something
I
new,
like the
a new
rating.
pathogen that they get exposed to might be deadly to them.
Well, and Holly, I know you want to say
And
something, but I would just say that Cheryl talks about all the time. Go to seahorse.org and see the rating of animals you can keep with seahorses. Also, when you get captive bred seahorses, the risk is less. And I would just say that, you know, I would love to see someone succeed in this area because I've always kept seahorses alone too. And everything Ray said is accurate. But go ahead, Holly. Sorry.
I was just say I keep other fish with my seahorses. I've always
I think the key is temperature.
and
That's really the key.
yeah, well, you have to watch. You have to look. I would say look at the list. Of what types of fish are safest with the seahorses. That list is excellent. That's what I go by on the seahorse.org. And you've got to make sure that you give all the inhabitants the conditions that they require.
Right.
So yeah, you
Don't
need
have
to make
Nacerius
sure
if you
that
don't have
the other things are okay with the seahorse's temperature, with the
Yeah.
with the conditions that are good for the seahorses. They have to be good for the other fish you put in too. And the way I did mine, I had the fish before the seahorses was how I did it. And I had the fish for a while before I introduced the seahorses for months.
See,
You
I
know,
really think I know, but I think that what you're
and
saying
now
is
there's so many captive bred fish. Like you can get
right.
captive bred fish just like you get captive bred seahorses. And I think if you try to follow that rule too,
Captive
I
bred.
think
Yes.
I think that things have a better chance of being successful if you try to get all your stock captive bred.
I
And
totally agree. If I ever add a mandarin, it will be captive bred. I'd rather pay for the
Mhm.
captive bred and know that and even macros. I ran into the temperature thing when I first started, not when I first started, when I first met Dan and I was talking about, well, I don't want a boring tank. I want to add more stuff. And I did that huge macro tank. And I realized some of those macros would not thrive because I had to keep the
it's too
temperature
cold.
down. So you have
Mhm.
to make sure that anything you add to the tank before or after should be able to handle lower temps because some corals, some macros, some fish can't.
I
So,
started
and
to
I,
have
I,
an issue with coral. That's one reason I
yep,
don't do coral.
yep, is because they can't handle the lower temps. And as everybody said, if you're gonna do seahorses, if you know you're gonna do seahorses, you have to cater the tank around seahorses. Even if you want to add other stuff, you have to make sure they can go in lower temps, in dirtier water. Someone said earlier that corals. Go ahead, Ray.
When it comes to the fish list that you were talking about from the org,
Yeah,
uh, that list was made an awful lot of years ago.
yeah,
It's not the be all and the end all, especially now when people have tried with other fish and found some other fish that are more compatible. Now, I think Alyssa sells fish that would not have been okayed on that list. So
really.
it's not the be all and the end all for the list.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
probably that list. I would guess it's at least 15 years old, if not more.
Well, I would definitely trust Alyssa, but some things and the real problem with making
It's
a
a
list,
good
the reason
basic
wait,
guy.
wait, 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 wait. I know, but the reason I would never like on my website put up a list like that
Hmm.
is because there are so many reasons that one thing will work out or one thing won't.
Yep.
Depends
Hmm.
on the size of the tank. Clownfish, look, I kept clownfish in my reef and they were monsters. They were
I heard.
monsters that I could not put my finger in the tank without them biting me. And I had two. So once one became male, or yeah, they're both female. One becomes male. Once one became male, or maybe it's the other way around. Either way, once they started thinking about a family, I saw my clownfish. I added a What's the fish that is purple on the front and like orangish on the back? It's not a
Grandma,
goby. It's
Royal Grandma,
what?
Royal
Grama.
Grandma.
Yes, you are absolutely right. I added a grandma to my reef tank. I don't like saying grandma. I like grandma. Sounds like grandma. Anyways, whatever it's called, I added one to my tank, and 2 hours later, I walked in and I saw my clownfish with this grama in its mouth. They don't even have teeth in its mouth, shaking it like a dog.
Yeah.
And killed that sucker. I would never put a clownfish with seahorses, but I've seen so many people do it successfully. I don't know. I think the key with clownfish is maybe just have one. I don't know. I think Heather
It's
even,
a
even keeps
baby.
clownfish with her.
Hey,
You're
When they
I
get
probably
older, they get meaner.
yeah.
Well, that's why when you said you added the fish first, I wonder about that though, because like for clownfish, for instance, they get territorial. So
I'm
if you then add the seahorses
Well,
and
my
they go in
fish
their
are not
territory.
though. See what I what I did was Mandarin Dragonette and blue spotted goby.
So you did approved fish that aren't aggressive.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And my goby still, I'll tell he when I changed around the tank, I got a new cave thing that he didn't like as well as the old cave. He liked his old cave, and there's multiple caves in the tank. So I took away his favorite cave. It went to the bleach bucket, and in its place, I put a new one that my brother got me for Christmas. Well, he didn't like this one as well, so he stayed in the smaller cave. And Dandy was making one of his pilgrimages across the tank one of those days, and he ended up hitching in the Gobi's cave. And Gobi didn't like it. So he was asking Dandy to leave, and nudging him and nipping at him and get out of my cave. And Dandy just sat there until he was good and ready to leave. And then he took off and finished his journey across the tank. But so they'll get sometimes a little territorial. Most of the time he's not, but most of the time a seahorse isn't sitting right in its cave. I mean,
Right.
that was kind of rude of Dandy, but Dandy had no clue and he didn't care. He wasn't
Right.
scared of Gobi. And Gobi wasn't
Well,
hurt, obviously.
But obviously, hey, you know what? Obviously, you did
They've
something
been
right.
together for years.
What I would say is the biggest thing that we say about not mixing seahorses with other stuff is
Mhm,
make sure that it's temperature correct and all that other stuff we just
mhm,
talked about, and not aggressive, because the the three things you worry about the most is temperature, feeding, because if the fish are
mhm,
fast eaters and
mhm,
aggressive eaters, the seahorses will never get fed.
mhm.
And also just that they don't get stressed out. You don't want a seahorse stressed
Mhm.
out. In this case, Dandy wasn't stressed out. He didn't
No,
care. You know what I
they
mean? He knew
know
Gobi
each
wasn't going to
other.
really hurt him.
They've been together for years, and Gobi, he doesn't follow the seahorses around bullying them. He doesn't take their food.
Right.
He likes generally to hang out in or near, one of his caves. He has his favorite, like I said, and I had taken it away. So I think he
So,
was in a
right.
bad mood about that. He's, oh, now I gotta live in this little cave over here, and now you're in my way. Get out of here,
But they're family. So
But
it was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, it was.
So I think
So
you got
you,
to watch the individual relationships too. Like even if
yep,
you have a fish that's supposedly safe and it's supposedly a gentle fish, if that
it
fish
can
is
be.
an ass and a bully, you may
Yep.
have to boot it.
Or if you get clownfish like mine, right? And I would just say too, her point is absolutely correct. Watch, and you can do it, Zen Ginger. I know that you said you get advice from multiple places and you're a baby step person. You're gonna be successful, I have no doubt.
Mhm,
And it's just about learning your seahorses, learning your fish, and figuring out how they interact. And I would
mhm,
say, if possible, if you're trying to decide between a 75 and a 125, what about getting a 75 and a separate tank
mhm,
set up, cycled, ready in case you have an asshole fish, right?
mhm.
Then you put them in that tank. I mean that was my lucky situation, because in my case it wasn't even in a butthole. I shouldn't curse. It wasn't a butthead fish, it was a butthead seahorse. I ended up with a bachelor seahorse tank because I had three males in different tanks around the house that could not get along. They
Mhm.
didn't like the females, they didn't like the males. They chased them around and nipped at them. It was awful. And I put these three males in a tank by themselves and they were fine because they were all bullies. They
They
didn't want to
went to
mess with each
prison.
other.
Seahorse
Really?
They
prison.
went to prison. I took care of them. They said they had a nice prison, right? But I'm just saying, having a backup is a good idea, or having just like pre-cycled media in case you have a problem. Then you can set up a tank in a day because your media is already cycled. You can set up a tank and put them in there if there's a problem. The seahorses or the fish, either way.
I've seen
Yes, Cheryl.
people have cardinal fish with
Yeah.
the seahorses, and they seem to be
Yep.
a good match.
Yep.
Okay.
Cheryl, what were you going to say?
Well, I'm going to be logging off shortly. My son has got something that he wants to do. But
Sure.
what I was going to say is I got a pair of clowns that I inherited when I bought a used tank. And they started drawing blood on my hand when I had put my hand in. So I got a 12cc syringe, filled it with water, and anytime they'd come near my hand when it was in the tank, they got squirted with a jet of water.
Yep.
It took them less than a week to decide if you don't go near the hand doesn't go near you.
Okay, I'm not as nice.
To
When
learn.
they come up and bite my finger, I flick them. I know. I shouldn't say that live. I sound like a terrible fish keeper. But they learned. They left me alone.
They were
Not
just
the
starting
other
to
fish,
reach sexual maturity, and they were hot to trot.
Yep. That's the thing is you get fish and they're so nice and they're so
I'm
cute.
going to log off.
Okay,
bad
we're gonna
allergies
go
right
too in a
there.
second.
Good night.
Good
Ray had to
night.
go too. He did
Ray had
say
to go
goodbye.
too, yeah.
He said goodbye, you guys. He just had to go quickly.
Goodbye,
But
guys.
Cheryl, good night.
Night.
And let's not share that flicking story anywhere, guys. But no, I mean, you get a fish and it's young and it's cute, and then it grows up, and then it gets breeding behaviors and aggressive behaviors. That's why I kind of still I know the seahorse.org list is 15 years old, but it's still a good baseline. Alyssa has a list
I
too.
think.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And just as Holly said, watch, learn the behaviors. You'll notice when something changes. You'll notice. And then I have no doubt that you're going to do fantastic with seahorses. I cannot wait to see your tank. I know you're going to do well. And yeah, pajama cardinal fish are funny looking. I like the not the pajamas. What's the black and white ones?
The Bengai cardinal. Is that?
Yeah.
Those are the ones people keep with seahorses usually, and they seem to be a safe bet from what I've seen.
Well, yeah, they're just like seahorses. They don't move much. They're like, chill. They don't go, they're not aggressive. Now, when they get babies in their mouth, again, watch your
If
tank.
you have
Learn your tank.
if you don't do, I think that's a thing too, is like if you have seahorses, don't do mated pairs of other types of fish. Because but that brings on the aggression.
It does, but the problem with that is, as aquarists, as hobbyists, we care about all of our fish. Seahorses the most, of course, but like cardinals are a schooling fish. They need other cardinals.
Are they gentle though? Like they won't get aggressive? Like, can you keep multiple cardinals with a seahorse?
As long as they don't get babies. That's it. You just got to watch your tank. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the
Will
best
they
advice
change
I could
though?
give.
Like, can you get like all females?
I think so, but I don't know how you sex them.
Yeah,
we gotta get.
I don't know much about any other fish, really, honestly, other than the seahorses.
And this is why I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but I get excited. This is why we need to have someone like Gina's Reef on. Even though we're a seahorse channel, getting a reef person in here to teach us about cardinal behavior and peppermint shrimp and cleaner shrimp and clownfish, and having that conversation still helps the seahorse community. So I'm gonna check with her because maybe she can answer all of her questions. And Heather said tank mates are good are Bengai cardinals, mandarin, peppermint, saltwater molly, and those are converted mollies, right? Chalk basslet, and Watchman Goby.
Yeah, I haven't done that. That's another thing I'm interested to try is converting mollies to
I did do that.
And that's
I did do
what
that.
kind of goby I have, the Watchman goby. They come, there's different ones. Like I've had an orange spotted one in the past. The one that I have with the seahorses is blue spotted. But the Watchman
Yep.
gobies, yeah, they're good. And now I have some new food for him. I feel bad because I don't really feed my goby. I always consider
Right.
him part of the cleanup crew, but I don't know how he gets food because he's obviously still alive after all these years, so he eats. But the only time I actually feed him is sometimes when the seahorses are eating. He'll come out of his cave and look up like he wants food too, and then I'll feed him with the turkey baster. I'll drop some
Mm-hmm.
food from above him and he'll come and eat the pieces, but I don't want to make a mess, so I just don't squirt food.
A bunch.
I let
Right.
him get what he gets. But I feel like he's deprived because I'm so good at cleaning up after the seahorses.
Right. But
So
I
I'm
don't. I
looking
think.
for this food from Dr. Tim's because it's little frozen cubes once you make it up. I'm thinking maybe I'll give him like half a cube
Yep.
and then, and probably him and the shrimp and the crabs can enjoy that.
Well, and yeah, we'll get Dr. Tim to talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, no, I think you're just proving the point again, Holly, is that you watch your tank, you figure it out, and you find ways, right?
Mhm,
And you can do pretty much a lot more with seahorses than just a
mhm,
sterile tank. You just have to learn your tank.
mhm.
That or learn your tank doesn't. That's not a good hashtag, is it? Learn your tank. Figure
It's
out
kind
your
of
tank.
true though. It
Right.
it's
Okay. Maybe
kind of
we'll make it a hashtag. Learn your tank. But no, good points. I am gonna have to end it tonight. We went past 10 o'clock. I keep saying we're gonna keep it to an hour, but I
yeah.
just love talking to you guys. Damn it. Um, and my wine glass is empty, so we're gonna have to end it. But anything else from you, Holly?
No, no,
I got all excited and kept interrupting you. I apologize.
I don't know.
But
That's fine.
we get excited, guys.
Yeah.
We love talking seahorses and saltwater. But we will be back next week. Watch for any posts about giveaways or new guests because they will be coming. And thank you to everybody who came tonight and everybody who watches later. With that, I will say, raise your glass, Holly.